This is the newspaper segment on the Daybreak show. And right now we'll take a look at the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. The major story here says 86 abducted in fresh Kaduna attack. The riders are saying 73 cattle rustled in Plateau. Bandits taking over our farmlands. That's according to the Southwest farmers. The defense chief alleges plot to cause mayhem. You'll find all of this story on page 4. And Daily Trust dissected, bringing details of what's happening based on the insecurities in the northern part of Nigeria, where it says the recent killings and kidnappings in Kaduna State, 8 incidents in 3 local government areas in 30 days, about 452 plus victims. And the local government affected are the Benongwari, Chukun, and Kajuru local government. There's details of when it happened, how numbers of people abducted, and where the local government is located. So you'll find all this on the infographic on page 4. Below there, you see no reprisal attack over troops killings. That's according to the military. NAPTIP arraigns Alliance Hospital staff over organ trafficking. You find that on page 5. I mean, that should be done a long time ago. Court injunctions stopping swearing of Plateau APC lawmakers. That's according to the governor's aide. Gaza now world's biggest open-air graveyard. That's according to the EU. I mean, it's really sad what's happening in Gaza. You'll find that on page 8. Below the headlines there, we have Anyaoku, Adebanjo, ex-governors call for new constitution. Is that where we're headed now? What happened to the old one? Have we made good use of that already? Under sea cable cut, business owners count losses and services restored. Okay, I mean, there was a bit of scare saying it's going to take a long time, and we also have SANU, NASU ground activities at varsities and NLC to join the action. These are some of the stories that you'd find on the Daily Trust newspaper. Let's move on to the Punch. At the top of the page there, it says dollar supply rises to $11 billion and Naira closes as 1,572 Naira per dollar. Cable cut, the telcos pledge 100% voice and data services today. So let's hold on to that. RAPS summon Edun and the RMAFC over the judges' poor pay. Lead story, soldiers killing. Army Delta's community differ over the reprisal as troops arrest about 20 people. Army accuses community of complicity. The defense headquarters releases photos and names of the fallen soldiers. A really sad one. I mean, we saw all the soldiers that were killed and, dismembered. Their body was really grossly pictured there. Delta governor visits Okwama, where that situation happened, and meets with the JTF commander, and Rep urges restraint. IYC condemns the attack. I mean, everybody condemned that attack. You find the major story on page 2. Withheld salaries, the SANU NASU strike grounds the varsities. 2,814 schools registered for NSCDC security arrangement. That's according to the commander. We need more of them. EFCC recovers about 324 houses and documents for Kano pensioners. 87 abducted in fresh Kaduna raid. Borno bombers die or bomber dies. And tension in Ogun as transport unions clash over ticket sales. These are the stories that you find on the Punch newspaper. All right, and let's look at the Guardian newspaper just quickly and then head on to the review. The major story is saying inflation and rising construction cost, low middle class differ the home ownership plans for food. And there is also the details of that, saying with 30% of income needed for mortgage, it's difficult for workers earning 100,000 naira to own a home. We have February food inflation 37.92%. Court convicts about 5 for murder and kidnapping in Rivers State. Settled the NASU and SANU members urgently, NLC tells the government. Looting depicts the misrule, misery, and decadence in society. Tinubu meets Edo APC chiefs over state crisis. Sanwo-Olu, the ex-governors, others call for new constitution. terrorism. Ohanese cautions Tinubu as gunmen abduct dozens in fresh Kaduna attack. I mean, it's really scary. Implementation hurdles for copious provision in new Electricity Act. Metering gaps remain despite about 273.3 billion naira loan to discos for meters and others. These are the stories you'd find on the Guardian newspaper. Aftermath of soldiers killing, bloodbath in Delta, villagers flee and hide in forest. This is the major story on the Vanguard newspaper. There's a pictorial of the fallen heroes. Ibadan Circular Road, over 6,000 residents to be rendered homeless. Below there we see padding. Obi calls for the review of the 2024 budget. At this point, every Nigerian is calling for that. Sanu and Nasu ground diversities over withheld salaries, and the undersea cable court service now restored. That's according to the telcos, and NCC have made that confirmation. Below the headmast there, it says energy crisis, vandalism, deaths and others hinder the 8,000 megawatt supply. That's according to report. The Edo Guba APC unveils Idahosa running mate. Terrorists kidnapped, the attack in Kaduna. Nigeria doomed without new constitution. That's according to Ayaoko Adebanjo Nwachiku Atta and the governor of Lagos State, Sanwo-Olu. And of course, these are the front pages that we will take, and we'll definitely dissect more on that. And today, as every Tuesday, we have Dr. Theophilus Abba, the program director of Daily Trust Foundation. Good morning, Doctor. It's good to have you again.
Thank you.
Indeed. All right, Doctor, let's talk about security. It seems it's, every time I meet you, there's something fresh happening, based on insecurity in Nigeria, and it's really disheartening. So this new abduction that happened, at first it came as though it was a speculation, but then it had been confirmed. About 86 were abducted in fresh attack. What is your take in all of this crisis? Well,
it's quite unfortunate that we're having such abductions, especially in Kaduna. If you look at the infograph there, you discover that most of the abductions have taken place in Kajuru. And the question is what's happening in Kajuru. Because if almost every week, there's an abduction, there's a killing in Kajuru. What we ask ourselves, what exactly is happening in Kajuru? And then if there is a regular act of abduction or killings in Kajuru, I will expect that those in charge of security ought to have taken steps to say, okay, let's wet Kajuru with security operatives. Let's improve our intelligence gathering to ensure that this thing is restricted. And you now discover that we now have a suicide bomber after many years. We thought that suicide bombing had come to an end. So we now have another suicide bombing in Borno, even though that was aborted. I think the suicide bomber died. But what I'm deducing from what's happening is this: kidnapping, suicide bombing, all these killings, they are just a kind of symptom. The real issue is that we have not been able to capture those behind these activities or these crimes. For instance, if you have listened to those who had been kidnapped, they will tell you that, either some motorcyclists came, picked them, then they had to trek in the forest. Some guys were supervising them, to ensure that they didn't escape. Then some guys were supplying food. Then some guys, were negotiating. You understand? Because if anybody is kidnapped, if your family member is kidnapped, you have to negotiate with somebody. They will have some guys who negotiated. They are ultimate beneficiaries, who are the masterminds. And as long as we don't capture these ultimate beneficiaries, as long as we don't look for them to arrest them, you see, the foot soldiers, when you hear on a weekly basis, the military tell you we killed 200 kidnappers, 200 terrorists, 200 bandits. Now you've been killing 200. I did Italy recently, and I discovered that more than 3,000 kidnappers have been arrested in Nigeria in the last 4 years. More than 3,000. Why is it that kidnapping has not stopped? It is because we have not captured the mastermind, those who are behind it, those who have said, this is our business. I put it in quote. You know, they will say this is our business. In fact, when one of my family was kidnapped, I was discussing with kidnappers. I say, look, please, in the name of God, this guy is a pastor. Please release him. He said, look, we are not talking about God here. That's what the kidnappers do. We are not talking about, we are in business.
Obviously, you're so far from God.
Yes, so we are in business. Don't talk about God. And then the family member said, look, the day you mentioned God, they beat him. I said, because I was pleading, he said, no, don't plead. What the language they understood was money. Now, you see, there are people who collected this money. You understand? So if we don't capture them, if we don't get to the root of it, to arrest them, this thing will continue. This new wave, you know, of kidnapping, of abductions, and all those and other, they are not coincidental. You know,
Indeed.
They are masterminds. There are people who are engineering it from somewhere. And if we do diligent investigation, if we put our ear to the ground, even if these guys are in this, even they are powerful, if you don't have the courage to say we arrest you because you have done this, if you not say, oh, I know it's a traditional ruler, because you hear about traditional rulers who benefit, you know, you say, oh, they collect this money, they take some to them. And some of the bandits, they've said previously that even those in government, you know, were behind them. You understand? So you see also, so if we don't have the courage to look for these people who are benefiting from it, then it will continue.
All right, based on everything that we are seeing, Doctor, yesterday we had a conversation with Senator Shehu Sani, you know, the civil rights activist, and he made mention that based on what he is assessing in Kaduna, that the previous administration, you know, insecurity was worse compared to this administration. Do you agree with that, considering everything, you know, happening?
I think, yes, I agree with him. It was better until recently, let me put it that way. It was better until recently, because the previous administration were hearing about bloodshed almost every week, bloodshed, and you know, people will be crying. They say, we need security.
Isn't it the same thing? You know, but this in a pan of just barely 2 weeks, things are happening.
That's why I'm saying that. Look, even though things were better in the last few months, you know, things have got worse. And you see, these things they are engineered, you know, by some elements. So it is the duty of the National Security Advisor, the security agencies, to go and look, to search for these guys who are behind it, and have the courage to capture them. You see, you have arrested many bandits. You have arrested many kidnappers. If you debrief them, if you really debrief them, they will tell you, see, I did this, I got only 200,000. There's another person who is ahead of me, he got so much, he's the one who knows more. Who knows more about those who are behind it. By the time you follow that track, you'll be able to capture the guy behind it. But what we keep hearing is that, as soon as you capture them, somebody will call from a powerful office in Nigeria and say, allow him to go. I don't know whether that is still happening under this system. Something
is definitely wrong.
Yes, so Doctor, unless we have the courage to say, we are going to capture the mastermind, you cannot. You cannot arrest what is happening.
Let's move on from what happened to Kaduna to another, you know, sad situation that happened in Delta State. And I mean, we haven't heard your thoughts. So the defense headquarters released the pictures of the fallen heroes, and it has been said that the people of the said village, Okwama, have even evacuated. They are living in villages because of the fear of retaliation. And also there is this allegation, like allegedly, that the defense chief, you know, is plotting to cause mayhem. What is your thoughts in all of this?
Well, it's quite unfortunate that the people of what do they call Okwama, they didn't learn from history. I remember in 1999, you know, there was the OD massacre. And what happened? They killed some military men, and that place was invaded, and a lot of persons were killed. Then I think in 2001, there was the Zakibiam. You understand? There was a massacre. Soldiers were killed in Zakibiam, and soldiers moved in and raised down the community. Now, you see, the people in Delta, this community in Delta, if they had learned from history, they wouldn't do what they have done. Because you don't expect the military to just fold these arms, you kill their soldiers, mutilate them, and then you think that you see, they will act. Now, if you talk about investigation, for every crime that is committed, for every form of violence that is committed, the people of the community know those who do it. What they do is to hide them, to say, oh, it's our son, it's our daughter, it's my uncle's this, it's my this. We don't touch them. Let's hide them.
So far, it's been announced that they caught about 20 people.
Yes, but much more than many more persons may have been involved. You see, the problem, what happened in Delta, to me, and that is what I keep arguing, is the fact that Nigerians have justified violence in the Niger Delta. I may be wrong, but it's like, oh, the Niger Delta people, they have been deprived of so and so, or they do this agitation, and it's like, oh, it's their right to agitate, it's their right to carry weapons, it's their right to do this. We even have an amnesty program, you know, where former killers are given amnesty, they are paid salary, and it's like, oh, it's okay for them to carry weapons because we get oil from that part of the country. You see, well, I know that justice demands that if you get resources from these communities, you channel the resources to them, let them benefit. But to say that, look, they are above the law, to say that they should be allowed to carry weapons, you know, and do the kind of thing they are doing, you know, is unacceptable. Because the kind of weapons that you find in the Niger Delta, you know, they are sophisticated.
It's really scary.
That is just equivalent to what you find bandits carrying in the forest. But then we tend to say, oh, it's in Niger Delta, they are deprived, the environmental degradation, they collect, the oil resources come from them, they don't benefit, there are no hospitals, and you feel, well, the youth can do whatever they want to do.
At the end of the day,
it is not acceptable.
They shouldn't do that, yes.
You see,
nobody.
The security must have an upper hand in a community like that.
Somebody should pay for it. I mean, killing people is not acceptable.
Because they are young men who are just, maybe some of them, what did they know?
And these are supposed to be the
They were not part of the conflict. They were only going there to say, okay, you community, you are fighting. No,
yes,
please,
just peacekeeping.
Peacekeeping.
And there was so
and then you massacre
anger.
them in
that is really horrible. But Doctor, quickly, due to time constraint, of course, I want to hear from you on the call of the governor of Lagos and also ex-governor saying that there should be a new constitution. Quickly, what is your take on that? Do we really need it?
Well,
at this point,
you know, there are issues in the constitution. There are issues in the constitution, you know, but I am feeling that even if we implement the content of the current constitution, some of the besetting problems, some of the problems that have led to underdevelopment will be handled. You know, when people talk about new constitution, they're talking about devolution of power, they're talking about maybe a system, the local government having their money, all sorts of things. People talk about all sorts of things in the constitution. That's the devolution of power. You know, but then the issue is that at the federal system of government that we run, you know, gives the opportunity to every governor to develop his state. But what I have noticed is that if you go to Cross River, what happens in Cross River is happening in Kogi, is happening in Zamfara. It's happening. What is it? And that is corruption. Now, there is no constitution that can prevent corruption because corruption is attitudinal. Corruption is about the value system. So a legal document cannot prevent it. If you look at what we are talking about in the National Assembly, there are so many frivolous items in the National Assembly. So what constitutional provision are you going to put to say don't put frivolous items in the Constitution? When Ningi was talking about 3.something trillion, idle fund put in the Constitution, it's frivolity. But the Constitution empowers the National Assembly to insert things in the budget, and that's what they have done. So it's not about the Constitution. To me, it is about the change of attitude. It's about reorientation. It's about the value system.
Orientation.
Now, if you look at the election that we had, the Electoral Act makes a lot of things clear. But the elections were conducted in violation of the Electoral Act, and the results were declared. You understand? So it's not about the document now. It is about the people who are implementing it. And I want to say that even this political elite, they conspire against the Constitution and against the benefit, the welfare of the country. Then top civil servants also, you know, they conspire against us because the system is not working, because the civil service is not doing what it's supposed to do.
It's really
so. It's not, to me, it's not about writing a new constitution.
Because they might always find.
But I would like, if they want to write the constitution, let them make me the secretary of the constitution. I'll collect some allowance.
We want to see that. At least we know you have the people.
So I can just sit down with them, write the constitution, clean it up.
Doctor, I mean, because of time, there's so much to discuss, but because of time, of course, we have to put a stop to it here. Thank you so much, Dr. Theo. Phyllis Abba, Program Director at Daily Trust Foundation, as usual, for coming to talk to us.
Good morning.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, of course, we have come to the end of Daybreak on Trust TV. Do stick around. At the top of the hour, Adeni Adishafe will bring you 360 Sport, and also if you have missed up on the program, do catch us via our social media platform and join our YouTube live stream for news programs and documentaries. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Do have a lovely day.